Well, we did it, or more precisely, you did it. 100,000 subscribers. I genuinely can't believe it. I'm blown away by it. And I promised a Q&A. So I put up a post saying, put your questions here. And I had, I think, about 250 questions in the end. So I have whittled it down to the most popular ones and my favourite ones. A little list. And here we go. Most popular by far was, for example, tell us a little bit about your story, some background on how you got into building the YouTube channel, what you did before, was this your dream, what job do you do or used to do, that kind of, quite a few questions along those lines. So, let's go right back to the beginning. My enthusiasm for boats, I cannot remember when it started, I've always had it, and I don't know what started it, but for as long as I can remember I've been mad on boats. And I also know what fueled it, which was a couple of things. First of all, my father had an old wooden dinghy that he built himself in the garage. I think he must have built it before I was born. And I used to badger him ceaselessly to put it in the water and sail it, which we never actually did. But he did eventually buy a Draskin Lugger, which is an 18-foot open sailing boat. And that got me on the water properly for the first time at the age of about, I would think, 11, 12, something like that, I guess. And because it was on a mooring, we had a little pram dinghy rowboat to get out to it, and so I learnt to row at the age of, as I say, about 11, and that became my little rowboat to play around in. And then we got a slightly bigger boat, a 22-foot cabin sailing boat, and because the mooring was further away, we then got an outboard, which for me was fantastic. So a little 2-horsepower outboard for a little pram dinghy, and I was away puttering around the river, having a great time with that. But the other thing was that my father worked for a company that owned various businesses, one of which was a small boat building company in Plymouth, and because of that he brought me back some brochures, which I still have. In fact, they're right here. You might have heard of this business actually. These are some of the boats they were building at the time, about 25 foot and 32 foot. It was a company called Princess, so that's a Princess 25 and that's a Princess 32. And I remember them bringing out a Princess 37, which was just unbelievable. It was one of the biggest leisure boats built in the UK at the time, I think. So that was back in the 70s, and I also got to go to boat shows because my father would visit them occasionally and have a look around those, and that really fueled my enthusiasm. So beyond that, well, I left school at 16, hated school, didn't do very well. A couple of O-levels, I think, can't even remember, and got a job working in a clothes shop because I felt that sales was probably a good way to go. My other passion is cars, and I thought maybe I can get a job as a car salesman, but at 16 clearly that wasn't going to happen, so I thought I'll get a sales job, and then started looking a couple of years later for car sales jobs and saw a job advertised for a trainee yacht broker and thought that sounds fantastic. It was in Torquay, a company called Torquay Marine Sales. Applied for the job and got it. Apparently because I was the only person who actually walked in with my application, put it on a sales manager's desk and told him I'd like the job. So got that. By the time I was about 25, 26, I was running that business. I didn't own it, but I ran it for the people that did. And that was me. Yacht broker, got me onto loads of fantastic boats, lots of experience with all different types, and did that job for 20 years. Until the parent company got taken over in 2008. 2009, of course, we hit the recession. They looked to make some pretty swinging cuts, quite rightly, including closing a couple of offices, one of which was mine, so that was the end of that. However, a couple of years earlier, I'd started writing a column for a boat magazine, so having been made redundant, I approached them and eventually managed to start doing a few more articles for those, and that launched a writing career, writing about boats, and I then learned to photograph boats and eventually video boats. And so I was writing for various magazines, including Motorboats Monthly was the first one, also Motorboat and Yachting, who I still write for, Boat International, Classic Boat, Practical Boat Owner. So again, that got me on a load of boats, and that is the day job. That's what I do now. I've been doing that for about 10 years. Okay, so next question. Can anyone go to boat shows, or can only certain people go? Somebody else has asked, is it possible for a normal person that in no way has the financial power to buy any yacht, attend a boat show, but buy a ticket for it? Yes, absolutely you can, and absolutely you should, because boat shows are brilliant. And it brings me on to another point, which is, I've mentioned this a lot, boating isn't just an elitist sport. I mean, yes, there are some very expensive boats, and you see a lot of them on my channel, but you can go boating at any price. My first boat was an Avon 280 rib with an 8 horsepower Mercury outboard. I used to put it on the roof of the car, and we had a fantastic amount of fun with that. I think it cost me £800. So don't feel that you're priced out. You could buy a kayak and go boating. In fact, I'll put a video on Aquaholic of exactly that. My second boat, I think it cost me about £15,000. That was a Monterey 218. Again, brilliant amount of fun with that. And yeah, it's not a billionaire sport. Clearly, elements of it are. In fact, elements of it are billionaire sports. But it is across the board. And as somebody once wisely said to me, if you are floating, you're boating. So yes, do visit boat shows. I'll give you a couple of top tips. There's lots of boat shows worldwide, and this applies to any of them, but in the UK the best one to visit is the Southampton Boat Show. That's in September. My top tip is get there early, get there when it opens, and head straight for the pontoons, head straight for the big boats. They will let you on them if you ask nicely. Don't pretend you're a buyer if you're not, just say you really want to have a look around, and most of the guys and girls there will be very pleased to let you on board. But get there early before the crowds start, because once it gets busy, then it becomes more difficult to access them. But yes, get yourself to boat shows, have a look around, it's fantastic. Number 3, and this of course is an obvious one, how did Aquaholic start? Well, by accident. I put up a YouTube channel just to hang a few of my own videos on. It was never really meant to be anything more than that, but back in 2011 I discovered that the Miami Vice boat was for sale in America, the well-class Scarab that was used in the series, and I'm a massive Miami Vice fan. So I spoke to the editor of a magazine I was writing for and said, hey, let's do a feature. He said, yep, get some photos sent over, speak to the owner and write it up. I spoke to the owner, a really nice guy called Jim, and he invited me over to have a go on it. So I spoke to the editor and said, I've got to go and have a go on this boat. And he said, we're not going to pay the airfare for that. So I paid it myself and went, because I just wasn't going to turn down that opportunity. And I took a camcorder and made a few little videos of it, and I put it onto my YouTube channel. And a couple of years later, inexplicably, they went viral. All of them suddenly started getting 1,000 views an hour. Couldn't believe it. I don't know why to this day. But it took the viewing level up to a point where I could monetize the channel. And I thought, if I monetize the channel, I'll probably get more interest, because although YouTube say they don't prioritize monetized videos, my theory was, well, they must do, because that's where the adverts are. So I was able to monetize the channel, and actually YouTube were exactly right. It didn't make any difference at all to the views. But what did start happening was a small amount of money started dribbling, and I thought, hang on, there might be something in this. So when I was at a boat show, I did a few more walk-around videos. They proved popular, and Aquaholic was born. That's basically it, completely by accident. But it's something I really love doing, and you guys are obviously very enthusiastic about, so long may it continue. Number 4, have you got a boat? And also, can we see your boat? Yes, absolutely, I do have a boat. It's a Jeannot 805 leader. It's called Smuggler's Blues. It's actually named after an episode of Miami Vice. And it's on the channel. If you go to the playlists at the top and scroll through those, you'll discover one called Jeannot 805 Leader Smuggler's Blues, and that is my boat. So yeah, go and have a look. I've got a tour of the boat on there, and I've got a few other adventures on it as well. Number 5, what is the airspeed of a fully laden swallow? Well, that depends on whether it's an African or a European swallow. Number 6, how do you get on board? Do they contact you, or do you contact them? And in the same vein, somebody's asked, how much time do you put into preparation before you enter a boat? Do you tour the boat first? And somebody else has said, how much time do you spend researching and planning each yacht tour? Do you normally do it all in one take? So, who contacts who? Well, of course, I've got a lot of contacts in the industry, from writing and photographing boats for the magazines. So that's how I know people. Up until now, it's been mostly me contacting people and saying, can I come and do this? I spend an awful lot of time talking to people ahead of boat shows and that kind of thing, and arranging this kind of stuff. More recently, as Aquaholic has become more popular, people have started contacting me, which is nice, and saying, hey, do you fancy coming and doing this? So that's helping greatly. In terms of researching and do I tour the boat first, is it in one take? What I try and do is have a look around the boat first, so I've got a good idea of where everything is, and on the bigger boats, of course, plan a route, because what I don't want to do is keep walking through the same areas. So that happens first, and then yes, one take. You'll notice there's some slight jump cuts in them, and that's usually where I've tripped over my tongue, or tripped over the ship's cat, or walked into a cabin and found somebody in there, so occasionally I have to backtrack and then just carry on as though nothing had happened. But yeah, I do it in one take, and certainly at the boat shows I just get one go at it, because of course the boat shows are very busy, lots of people around, so it's a case of get on, get round and get off. But it's a method that seems to work, people seem to like it, and it works for me, and it makes it quick and easy, so that's how it's done. Number 7, what is the best day you had on the water? Well, that is easy. If you have a look, you'll find some videos called Ultimate Yacht Charter, where we actually took a Princess 72 last year in Mallorca out for a couple of days on charter, and the second day, if you look at those videos, there's 3 of them, and if you go for number 2, that day was just unbelievable. If at the end of my life they say to me, you can replay one day, then right now it's that day. We had family, friends, loved ones, just having the most incredible time ever on a boat. So if you've not seen it, go and check that video out. It was brilliant. Number 8, have you ever fallen in the sea whilst filming? Not yet, come close, fallen off steps, walked into a door once, a glass door, but not fallen off. But I have done it in the past. When I was a yacht broker, I was putting the cover on a small boat. It was October, it was very cold, I was on a very narrow side deck, and I was putting the cover down to try and clip it onto the windscreen well, and it slipped through my fingers, and off I went backwards, straight in. So yes, have fallen in, and not yet while filming, but I can't help thinking it's only a matter of time. Do you have any Miele? This is where it all started. Do you have any Miele appliances in your own home? No, I don't. And in fact, I emailed Miele and said, hey, you should check out my channel because Miele's a really big thing on it. And nothing. Never heard a word from them. So no Miele appliances, but maybe one day. Number 10. Are you sponsored by yacht companies? No, absolutely not. In fact, I deliberately keep it completely independent. I have been approached a couple of times by yacht companies saying we'd love to sponsor the channel, and it would of course be brilliant. But my thinking is, firstly, I wouldn't be able to say whatever I wanted to say, and secondly, if I'm sponsored by yacht company X, yacht company Y are going to say, we don't want to be on your channel, you're sponsored by our competitors. So no, I deliberately keep it completely independent, and that's how it will continue. Number 11. What type of boat do you prefer, sports cruiser or flybridge? And in fact, somebody else asked, are you sold on the idea of canvas hood open sports cruisers for our UK climate, or do you wish you had a deck saloon? That's an interesting one, because deck saloon boats, where basically you drive them from inside, are a lot more practical in the UK. But for me, I go boating to be outdoors, so I'm very much a sports cruiser guy. I want a nice big open cockpit, I want everyone together, and I want to be outdoors. If the weather's so bad that I need to be inside, then probably I'm not going boating. That said, when we chartered that Princess 72 out in Mallorca, that was a flybridge boat, and I could really see the sense of that. For me, I had the boat fairly local to where I live. I can walk to it in about 25 minutes. But if you live a long way away, then a flybridge boat does give you a lot more space on board. So definitely see the merit of that. Maybe one day, if I can ever afford it and have a boat out in Mallorca or somewhere, maybe that'll be the time to switch to flybridge. Number 13, you regularly put the prices of boats you reviewed on the site. Am I correct in assuming it's the base price, or do you post the price with the extras the particular boat may have fitted? Generally, I go for the base price, because otherwise, if someone's loaded up a boat with £200,000 worth of extras, and some people do, it's going to look very uncompetitive. So it seems to me the best way to make them most comparable is to go for the base price. But I am guided a bit by boat manufacturers. If they say, look, the base price is not very typical, we never sell a boat at that price, they've always got this, and they give me a more typical price, then I'll put that, I'll be guided by them. But the majority of them, yeah, it's the base price. You've got to accept that there's going to be a few extras on top of that. Also, I don't put VAT because, of course, Aquaholic is global and tax rates vary between countries. So different countries will have different rates. And then above that, if, for example, it's a British boat and it's being sold in America, well, then there's some fairly hefty delivery charges to getting it over there. So they're not included either. It's the base price. That just seems to be the fairest way of comparing them. Number 14, do you sail, and why don't you like to do tours of sailing boats? I have sailed. In fact, that old wooden dinghy that was in my father's garage all those years, I did eventually acquire that and used to sail that one, and then after that I had a laser sailing boat. So I have got a little bit of sailing history, and my father had sailing boats when I was a child. The reason it's mostly motorboats is because when I worked for the yacht brokerage, it was mostly powerboats that we sold, and then when I started writing for magazines, it was motorboat magazines. So all my background in terms of talking to manufacturers and that kind of thing is mostly powerboats, and that's why it's mostly powerboats on the channel. However, I am starting to incorporate a few sailing boats, and we've also got something planned that's going to be very interesting later this year, which is very sailing boat orientated. So just to give you a little clue, if you look at the charter boat videos that we did, and look at the description for the company that was chartering it, you'll notice they've got another boat. That might give you a little clue as to what's coming. Number 15, if you could have chosen any career in the industry, from say captain of a super yacht, designing them and anything in between, what would it have been? It's this. I've really loved doing this. I love doing the tours, I love writing about them, photographing them, videoing them. So writing for magazines and doing Aquaholic, that for me is the best job in the industry. Number 16, now this gets asked quite a bit. What's the largest boat you could crew yourself without a crew? Now, of course, it depends hugely on your experience and where you're boating and all that kind of thing. But I reckon 2 competent people can comfortably handle a boat up to around 80 feet. Where it starts to get more tricky is that when you get up to that sort of size and beyond, it's a big boat just even to keep clean. If you go out and throw a bit of salt over it because it was a bit rough, you've got to spend half a day washing it down. So I think once you get up to 80 feet and beyond, you've got to start thinking about a crew. But up to that sort of size, no problem. And something like a 50-footer, very comfortable for a couple of people if they've got a bit of experience. Number 17, is there a particular yacht you would love to tour? When I was writing for Boat International, which is a super yacht magazine, I went down to Abu Dhabi and I joined a boat called Silverfast, which was a 77-metre incredible super yacht, real beautiful thing. And I cruised on that boat from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. I had 24 hours on it and it was amazing. And I would really love to bring a tour of that. I believe it's currently for sale. I did speak to the broker about it, but unfortunately we've not managed to set that one up yet. But that boat, if you have a look on YouTube and search for Silverfast, you'll see some shots of it, mostly the outside. I don't think anybody's videoed the inside of it yet. But yeah, stunning boat, would love to bring that to Aquaholic. Number 18, would you be able to access any of the shipyards that manufacture these fantastic craft that you preview, behind the scenes that are also fascinating for us tech heads? Yes, actually I'm talking to a company at the moment. I'm very much hoping to do that and then maybe do more of it in the future. We'll see how the first one goes. But yeah, that is in the planning stage, and if I can, I will be doing exactly that. Number 19, what is your favourite cheese? Ticklers. I really love Ticklers cheddar. If you've not tried Ticklers cheddar, give it a go. It's fantastic. And then number 20, if you had the chance, would you ever review the Royal Yacht HMY Britannia? Now, I saw that and I thought, that is a brilliant idea. So I've emailed them and said, I've got this yacht tour channel, Aquaholic, love to do a tour of Britannia. And that was about 4 days ago and I've heard nothing. But if they come back to me and say yes, I'll be straight up to Scotland and doing that one, because that would be brilliant. Anyway, that's about it. Other than to say, again, thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me, and it absolutely is what drives the channel. So do keep watching, do keep commenting on the videos, and do hit that subscribe button if you've not done already, because I really appreciate all the support that we get. And as for the future Aquaholic, well, it's lots more of the same, and I'm going to find other things hopefully that we can do as well. So stay tuned, I'll keep them coming, and I hope you carry on enjoying them. And as I like to say, thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, bye-bye.